The courtroom followed its usual quiet rhythm until a frail man in a weathered army jacket stepped forward. The coat hung loosely on his thin frame, clearly too large, as if it once belonged to a stronger version of him. His boots were split and worn down, scarred by years of sleeping on hard pavement. Beneath the jacket, something heavy was pressed tightly against his chest. The moment he approached the bench, the atmosphere changed. Conversations faded. Chairs stopped shifting. A hush spread through the room. A slow camera zoom would catch the shaking of his hands, the deep fatigue etched into his face. These were eyes that had once scanned distant battlefields, eyes trained for survival, now quietly pleading for mercy. The clerk read his name aloud, Michael Turner. United States Army veteran. Several heads lifted. Even the officers along the wall shifted uncomfortably. Judge Frank Caprio leaned forward instinctively. His familiar, gentle smile appeared for a brief moment, then softened when he noticed the heaviness in Michael's steps. "Good morning, Michael," the judge said kindly. "Are you okay walking up here?" Michael nodded, but his voice fractured as he spoke. "Why yes, Your Honor." Everyone in the courtroom could feel it, something wasn't right. The citation itself was minor, barely over $100. Yet Michael stood as though he were carrying a burden far heavier than a fine. A subtle glance toward his coat revealed a faint bulge beneath the fabric. Whispers stirred. The tension rose. Judge Caprio noticed it too. Just for a moment. His eyebrows lifted slightly, and his voice softened even more. "Michael," he said gently, "before we begin, is there anything you want to tell me?" Michael's eyes filled with tears. His grip tightened around his coat as if shielding something precious inside. Then he took a cautious step closer to the bench. The courtroom froze. Judge Caprio waited calmly, patient, steady, compassionate. But everyone else held their breath. No one knew what Michael Turner, a homeless veteran with almost nothing left, was hiding beneath that worn army jacket, and whatever it was, the next moment promised to change everything. The courtroom continued its routine motions, papers shuffling, quiet murmurs, officers standing alert, but when Michael Turner stepped forward, time seemed to slow. His presence carried a heavy stillness, not loud or dramatic, but lingering like an old memory that refused to fade. His faded coat wrapped around him like armor. His boots, bent and cracked, showed years of walking streets instead of sidewalks meant for people with homes. His hair, once kept military sharp, now lay tangled from nights spent on benches and under bridges. One hand remained pressed firmly against the inside of his coat, guarding something unseen. The clerk repeated his name, pausing respectfully. Michael Turner. U.S. Army veteran. A tension rippled through the room. People who had been distracted moments earlier looked up. Some recognized that weight, the kind veterans carry, not in their bodies, but behind their eyes. Judge Caprio leaned forward again, his expression softening. He had presided over thousands of cases, but Michael's careful steps, his fragile posture, told him this was no ordinary hearing. "Good morning, Michael," Caprio said warmly. "Take your time. You're safe here." Michael nodded. "Good morning, Your Honor," he replied, his voice trembling. The judge noticed the tension in his shoulders, the restraint in his breathing. "Tell me about yourself, Michael," Caprio said gently. "Only what you're comfortable sharing." Michael swallowed hard, as if pulling words through years of buried pain. "I served in the army," he said quietly. 15 years. Iraq. Afghanistan. Places that don't ever really leave you." He paused, his hand tightening inside his coat. "When I came home, things weren't the same. I couldn't fit back into normal life." A respectful silence followed. "Even those seated in the back sat up straighter, and now?" Caprio asked softly. "Where are you living?" Michael looked down at his boots. "Wherever I can. Mostly the streets. Sometimes a shelter, if there's room." The words landed heavily. Officers exchanged glances. A woman in the gallery lowered her head. Seeing homelessness in person carried a different weight than hearing about it. Judge Caprio took a slow breath. "No one who served this country should be left like that," he said quietly. "Not on my watch." Michael's eyes glistened. Kindness was unfamiliar. He tried to hide the emotion. Caprio glanced at the citation. "This is a small parking ticket. Minor to most people," he said. "But I can see it's not your real concern." Michael's breathing grew uneven. He pulled his coat tighter. "I didn't come just because of the ticket, sir. I lost something. Something important. I've been looking for weeks." The judge tilted his head. "What did you lose?" Michael didn't answer. The silence that followed was heavier than any outburst could have been. "I'm not here to hurt you, Michael," Caprio said gently. "You've already fought enough battles. Whatever this is, you don't need to hide it from me." Michael finally looked up. His eyes were red, tired, overwhelmed. It's all I have left, Your Honor. I can't lose it again." A close-up would capture his trembling lips, the fear in his gaze, the way his fingers curled protectively around the hidden object. Judge Caprio watched him, not with suspicion, but with deep understanding. "Michael," he said softly, "you came here today for more than a ticket. Something brought you here. And I'm going to help you." The courtroom fell completely silent. Michael blinked hard. His chest rose and fell rapidly, as if the truth hovered just beneath the surface. Whatever he was hiding beneath that worn army jacket, whatever he was protecting so fiercely, was about to change everything. A heavy stillness settled over the room as Michael stood gripping his coat like a lifeline. It was clear now he wasn't there over a citation. Something far deeper had brought him before the bench. Judge Caprio folded his hands calmly. "Michael," he said kindly, "whatever you're carrying, physically or emotionally, you don't need to fear me. Help me understand." Michael glanced toward the spectators. Eyes watched him. He looked terrified, not of the judge, but of being seen. I can't talk about it here," he whispered. "Not with everyone watching." Caprio nodded. "Then we'll go slowly. You speak when you're ready." An officer near the door stiffened, unsure whether to approach. Another considered stepping closer. Judge Caprio gently raised his hand, signaling calm. "No pressure," the judge said. "Let's go back a moment. You said this item was important. Important enough that it brought you here today." Michael's voice shook. "It's the last thing I have of my daughter." A quiet ripple moved through the courtroom. Soft gasps escaped, hands slowly dropped from faces, and hardened expressions melted into something gentler. Judge Caprio leaned forward, his tone calm and compassionate. "You have a daughter?" "I had one," Michael corrected softly. The last word fractured his voice. He blinked quickly, fighting tears. "She passed away 3 years ago." "Lily. She was only 7. In that instant, the courtroom stopped feeling like a legal chamber. It transformed into a space heavy with shared sorrow. Even the officers, usually stiff and guarded, relaxed without realizing it. Judge Caprio spoke with warmth, almost like a father. "Michael, I am so deeply sorry. No parent should ever have to bury their child." Michael gave a faint nod. The memories clearly stirred something raw inside him. "I carried her photo everywhere," he said quietly. "No matter where I slept, benches, under bridges, behind the bus station. I kept it close. It was laminated. I made sure it wouldn't get ruined." His hand trembled again beneath the coat. "But a few weeks ago, someone stole my bag while I was asleep. Everything was in it. Clothes. Food. Whatever money I had. But that photo, that was my whole world." "And you believe it's under your coat?" Judge Caprio asked gently. Michael lowered his gaze. "I found something. Something that belongs to her. Or I think it does. I don't know how to explain it." The judge didn't rush him. "Not even a little." "Michael," he asked softly, "did you come here today because you were hoping I could help you?" That question shattered the last wall Michael had left. Tears slid down his face, quiet but unstoppable. "I didn't know where else to go, Your Honor. I went to shelters. Police stations. Churches. Everyone said they'd try to help. No one did. I thought maybe someone here would listen. Maybe someone wouldn't think I'm crazy." "You're not crazy," Judge Caprio said firmly. "You're hurting. And that's human." Michael wiped his face with his sleeve and nodded slowly. The judge scanned the room, then returned his focus to Michael. "I'm going to ask you again. Is what you're holding under that coat connected to your daughter?" Michael hesitated, then nodded. The tension thickened. A woman in the front row clasped her hands together. An officer subtly adjusted his stance, alert but calm. The air felt fragile, like it might crack if anyone spoke too loudly. "What is it?" the judge asked softly. Michael opened his mouth, then closed it. His voice came out small. "I don't know if I'm ready to show it. People might misunderstand." Judge Caprio slowly shook his head. "Not in my courtroom. Here, we listen before we judge. That's my promise." Michael swallowed hard. Okay. Instead of opening the coat, he began to explain. "When my daughter died, I couldn't handle it. I lost my job. Couldn't pay rent. I just fell apart. Everything slipped through my fingers." He took a shaky breath. "Before she died, she gave me a small wooden box. Said she made it in art class. Inside was a necklace she made herself. Cheap beads, just string. But she said it was magic." A broken smile crossed his face. "She said it would keep me safe while I slept." Judge Caprio's eyes softened. "That's a beautiful gift." Michael nodded. "That necklace was in the bag that got stolen. I searched everywhere, alleys, dumpsters, streets, for weeks. Never found it." The weight of that loss hung heavy. Losing a child was unbearable. Losing the child's last gift was almost unimaginable. "But 3 nights ago," Michael continued, "I found a small wooden box behind the shelter. I swear it looks exactly like hers. Same shape. Same little smiley face she drew on the lid. I thought maybe someone found it and left it there. His voice trembled. I've been afraid to open it. The courtroom froze. Judge Caprio paused before speaking. Why are you afraid? Because if it's not hers, Michael whispered, then I lose her all over again. Silence fell like a heavy blanket. Everyone could feel the fear, the hope, the fragile thread Michael was holding onto. Is that box under your coat? The judge asked gently and Michael nodded. And you came here because you didn't know where else to open it? I just needed someone to understand, Michael said. Someone to tell me it's okay. Someone to tell me I'm not crazy for wanting it to be hers. Judge Caprio slowly removed his glasses, a quiet gesture meant to steady himself. You came to the right place, he said softly. You're not alone here. Michael's shoulders shook. I don't want anyone to think I'm dangerous, he said quickly. I'm not hiding a weapon. I swear. The officers relaxed further. Judge Caprio nodded. I believe you. Michael exhaled shakily. I just didn't want anyone to see it until I knew. Until someone like you could tell me I wasn't imagining things. And you think I can help you with that? The judge asked. You're the only person who's talked to me like I'm still human, Michael replied. The courtroom sank into a deeper silence, heavy with every moment Michael had ever felt invisible. Judge Caprio leaned forward slightly, his voice warm and steady. Michael, whatever you're carrying under that coat, you don't have to carry it alone anymore. Michael looked up, eyes shaking with fear and trust. Slowly, very slowly, he began unbuttoning his oversized coat. One button, then another. Time seemed to stop. No one moved. No one breathed. Take your time, Judge Caprio said gently. We're all here with you. Michael nodded. When the last button came free, he reached inside with careful, reverent hands. Then he pulled out a small, worn wooden box. A sharp inhale rippled through the room. The box was old. Edges chipped. Paint faded. But on the lid was a crooked smiley face, drawn by a child's hand exactly as he had described. Michael held it tight against his chest. I can't tell if it's really hers, he whispered. I haven't opened it. I was afraid to break the last piece of her I have left. Judge Caprio gently gestured toward the bench. Come closer, Michael. Let me see. Michael stepped forward, clutching the box like letting go might erase his daughter forever. When he reached the bench, he hesitated and looked up at the judge, eyes pleading. Are you sure? A hush fell over the courtroom. Michael's voice wavered quietly. If this isn't hers, I don't know if I can handle that. Judge Caprio's voice softened to a steady, fatherly rumble. Michael, whatever is inside that box, it won't take your daughter from you. She lives here. He tapped gently over his heart. Nothing inside that box can change the love she gave you. Michael's lips trembled. He looked down at the small wooden box and traced the faded smiley face with his thumb. She used to say she made it to protect me, he murmured. So it was my lucky magic box. Just a child's words, but it meant everything. The judge extended his hands, not grabbing, not demanding, just offering. If you want, you can open it here with me. The words broke the last of Michael's fear. He nodded slowly. The courtroom leaned in as he placed the box gently on the bench. His hands hovered over it for several heartbeats. Then, with a cautious breath, he lifted the lid. The hinge creaked softly. Inside lay a simple beaded necklace, tiny plastic stars and hearts threaded on a pink string. Faded colors, but still bright enough to carry a child's joy. Michael let out a sharp breath, a mix of relief and heartbreak. That's it, he choked out. That's hers. That's Lily's necklace. I'd know it anywhere. His knees threatened to buckle, and he caught himself on the edge of the bench. Judge Caprio leaned closer, his voice warm. She made this. You kept it safe for her. And somehow, it found its way back to you. Michael buried his face in his hands, tears streaming freely. I thought I lost her forever, he whispered. But she came back to me, even after everything. The judge placed a reassuring hand over Michael's trembling arm. She never left you, Michael. Not once. And she never will. The courtroom held a silence deeper than law or procedure, filled instead with something profoundly human. A reunion. A moment of healing. A broken man reclaiming a piece of his heart. Judge Caprio exhaled slowly, regaining his composure. Michael, what you found today isn't just a necklace. It's a reminder that love doesn't disappear. It may get lost for a while, but it always finds its way home. Michael lowered his hands, eyes red but glowing with hope he hadn't felt in years. Thank you, he whispered. Thank you for letting me open it here. You're not alone anymore, Michael, Judge Caprio said softly. Not in this courtroom. Not in this world. Michael nodded, clutching the box to his chest. For the first time since his daughter's death, he seemed able to breathe. Everything shifted after that single, impossible moment. The truth had arrived, raw and undeniable. The judge's gavel echoed once, sharp and final, and the room was no longer a battlefield. It was released. Maya, who had entered the trial timid and silenced, now stood taller. Her hands steady, her voice calm, the truth finally freed from the lies that had burdened her. Evan, whose arrogance had once seemed untouchable, sat stunned as the system treated him like any other person. Truth mattered more than influence. His father's expression, long unreadable, finally cracked, not in anger, but in heavy, devastating disappointment. Endings aren't about who wins or loses. They're about who changes. Maya changed. She walked out not as a victim, but as someone who refused to carry shame that never belonged to her. She learned that truth isn't a weapon, it's liberation. Her sister embraced her outside the courtroom, and for the first time in months, Maya felt light. Real light. Free from pretense, free from fear. Evan was led away, the spotlight he once craved now exposing his mistakes. Truth cares nothing for status, privilege, or power. Maya faced it, and that was her victory. She didn't leave with revenge. She left with her voice, her dignity, her story told as it deserved to be told. And sometimes, that is the most powerful resolution of all. Her journey is proof, you deserve to be heard. You deserve to be believed. You can stand up even when your voice shakes. Courage isn't always loud. Sometimes it's simply claiming your truth, no matter the cost. If this story moved you, share it. Comment. Let someone else know they are not invisible. Your engagement could be the sign they've been waiting for. Your voice matters. Your story matters. And it's never truly over.